In Module 1, you organized and analyzed the data to determine how this business is doing. Specifically, you looked at the RevPAR numbers and you determined that the competitor's performance was higher than the hotel's performance. Given this context, this exercise is going to delve deeper into the way we compare ourselves against competitors. You're going to learn about a method of comparing that is a bit more complex than just looking at two numbers. We need to create what is known as an index. So I want you to imagine that sitting in the middle of the hotel and all its competitors is a piece of pie. And because there's only so much of this pie, everyone is fighting to get the biggest slice of this piece of pie. The index is a number that measures the size of the slice we are trying to get. Let's say the slice we end up with is not too big and not too small. We are getting a fair share, and this means that we are competing at the same level as everyone else and no one is beating us. If a hotel gets a fair share, then it means that the index is equal to 100. If we go above 100, then we are doing better than everyone else. And if it's below 100, then our competitors are stealing our share of this pie. Now, from your analysis in Module 1, you already know that the hotel's index is less than 100. But the reason this index is so important is that it gives us a more precise understanding of the hotel's performance. We already know that we are getting beat, but we want to know how badly we're getting beat. We're going to give it a number. And we can do this by calculating what is known as a competitor index. Now, the formula to calculate the competitor index is very simple. You would take the hotel's metric, divide it by the competitor's metric, and then multiply it by 100. Now notice that I'm using the term metric in the formula. This index formula can be used for different types of metrics. The metric that we will be using in this exercise is RevPAR, and this was what you focused on in the previous assignment. But later on in the module, we're going to be using the same formula to create indexes for other types of metrics, such as occupancy and ADR. So this exercise has two steps. The first step is to use the SUMIFs to determine revenue earned for each of these 3 months. Once we get the numbers, the spreadsheet is going to automatically populate these white cells here for RevPAR. And this will take you to step 2, where you will then apply this formula to calculate the index for RevPAR. Now, this is where it gets tricky. In the assignment for Module 1, you were able to set the criteria as the month, right? And it was in this column.
Yeah.
But notice how in this new data, we only have 2 columns. The individual dates in column A and the revenue earned for each date. So the challenge is to figure out how to set our criteria to capture revenue earned for each of these months given the limited data that we now have. And this is done by setting up what is known as a range. In all the previous exercises, you only had to set the criteria for one date. But when we use a range, what's going to happen is that the SUMIFs is going to be capturing more than one date. So the thought process is we need to tell Excel, out of all of these dates, I want to focus on dates that are greater than X and less than Y. So if we're trying to find revenue earned for the month of June, we need to tell Excel to focus on cells that are greater than what?
Greater than May 31st.
May 31st and less than what date?
July 1st.
So keeping this range in mind, this is the thought process that is going to help you create the formula. So let's create it. Type equals SUMIFs, sum range. So again, whenever you create SUMIFs, the sum range is always going to need to be a quantifiable number. So sum range is column B, comma. So what would criteria range be?
That'd be the dates.
Now, in the previous assignments, you would have filtered to column C, right? Because that contained all of the different months.
Yeah.
This time, because that's non-existent, we have to use column A. Now, criteria.
That is the range.
Now, the syntax gets tricky. Type quotation mark, greater than sign, quotation mark, and then the and symbol, and then the date, which is May 31st. So this is saying that out of all of these dates, we're looking for dates that are greater than May 31st.
Yeah.
Now, is this formula finished?
No, we still need the other side of the
Right, we have to create the other boundary. So let's do comma, and this time, what do we set?
it to be less than.
Okay, so quotation mark, less than, quotation mark, and signed July 1st. Perfect. So now that we have determined revenue earned for the month of June, we can use this RevPAR number to be applied to this competitor index number, because I want to be able to pinpoint that specific size of our piece of pie. So going back to our formula, we would take the hotel's RevPAR, divide it by the competitor's RevPAR, and multiply it by 100. Now, once you finish this exercise, these are the competitor indexes for the 3 months. In June, we're operating at a 99. And this means that we're almost getting our fair share. You know, it's not too bad. But in July, we really got our butt kicked, right? You can see that our slice of the pie shrinks considerably when you look at the index, which is very well under 100. And finally, in August, we were able to bounce back. And we actually performed better than our competitors. When you look at this index, it's very well above 100. In the next 2 exercises, you're going to learn about 2 more performance metrics that are going to take us deeper into the numbers that we see right here. They are known as occupancy and ADR. And these are 2 other metrics that we will also be applying to our index formula. So this formula is going to really come in handy at the end of the module when we use it again to be applied for occupancy and ADR. But with this index, with these other metrics you'll be learning, the main objective in Module 2 is to get a deeper analysis of why we performed poorly in 2016. And this assessment will help us set a strategy for the hotel, okay? And it's gonna serve as a basis for all our future decisions to help the hotel bounce back in 2017.